Hey there, Journey Church. I'm Jeremy Taylor, the candidate for the role to be your lead pastor. I know we got to know each other in the first video that shared some things about me, so I want to take this time to share some thoughts on ministry. Specifically, I want to give you a short synopsis of a way of thinking that permeates how I approach ministry and church experiences. It's a model, if you will, that I'm still developing, but something I'm excited about sharing and growing in together with you. I see in Jesus' ministry both a pathway and a pool to swim in. By pathway, we notice that Jesus has a systematic way of shaping people into being his disciples. It goes something like this: belong, believe, become, behave. Let's unpack this. When we talk about belong, it's interesting to note that the people that felt closest to Jesus were those who felt farthest from God. It was the broken, the marginalized, the disconnected who had the easiest time being in Jesus' presence. They loved sitting with him. They were the ones who were talking with him in the informal settings of life. When we refer to belong, it's how the other person feels that matters most, deferring our preferences for the sake of another. To truly be a church where all people feel like they belong will take radical hospitality from street to seat and back to street. It's going to take an intentional connecting points and on-ramps that help people get to know other people, learn to be with Jesus, and then do it in easy and comfortable ways. Jesus then moves people from belong to believe by calling them specifically to believe that he is the Christ, the Son of God. This birthing of faith is a work of the Holy Spirit, and when the gospel truly comes alive in our lives. As disciples of Jesus who have already had this moment of faith, it is imperative on us to set the table for others with our words and our lives and our deliberate building of relationships with those who are outside of our faith, but inside our reach. When we have come to believe that Jesus is who he says he is and does what he says he will do, we immediately become. We become a new creation. We become part of a new family. We become part of a body, part of the bride of Christ. We become on mission with Jesus. We become a disciple, an apprentice, a student. The final part of the process is always our behaviors. What we do always follows what we believe. This is where the pathway becomes more of a pool to swim in. Because once we've progressed in this manner to this point, we start to move in and out and in and through all three of these as we see our behaviors begin to change and be shaped. Let me give you a real example of this. My friend Michael was a drug addict who would sleep on the porch of our church here in Portland. One Sunday he came into our church gathering, and many of our people treated him like he belonged there. We interacted with him. We listened to his story. We met him exactly where he was. We started to invite him into small groups, all before he showed any outward sign of believing what we believed or behaving like we would behave. Then Michael came to believe in Jesus. Radical shift in his life. He became all of those things I just shared with you, but his behavior, it didn't change. He kept hearing that God really did love him and that he belonged there and with us because of the gospel that he had received. He came to understand that he didn't need to achieve anything because he received what God was giving to him. Michael continued to grow in his belief. He began to read the Bible and see for himself that he was a child of God, a new creation. He became part of a family and became part of what we were doing together. And then, only then, did he start to see that some of his behaviors didn't align with how he belonged, what he believed, or who and what he was becoming. So he started to change. This has so many real-time implications and applications for how you and I live, how we organize and realize our gathering times, and how we align our ministries so that we can engage the community around us. This has the ability, I think, to focus our priorities on the things that Jesus prioritized, building up the people of God to pursue the people who are outside of our faith but within our reach. Actually, one of the really cool God connections that we have is already started, that you kind of talk in this way, you think in this way already. When I was interviewing with your search team, I started to check you guys out online, and It was right there in 3 bold boxes on your website. Belong, believe, become. Did you know that was there? Is that a language that you guys kind of use? I'm excited to hear about that, because together I think we will drill down into the depths of how these are lived out in our lives and in our church and then into our communities. I am genuinely looking forward to the future that God has for us as we follow his lead.